Everyone to the meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. Today is Wednesday, July 20th. It is now 6 o'clock and I'm calling the meeting to order. Could you please give your attention to this short video?
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of Assembly Bill 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should mute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice for public comment guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Thank you. And Terry Ann, could you now call the roll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Arnridge.
Here.
Commissioner Butt. Commissioner Butt.
Oh, here. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Geringer.
Here.
Here. Commissioner Haskew.
Here.
Commissioner Hudson. Commissioner Mitchell.
Here.
Commissioner Nowak.
Here.
Commissioner Thorpe.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner White. Okay, Vice Chair Glover.
Here.
Chair Kelly.
Here.
Representative Foley.
Present.
Representative Powers.
Here.
Representative Work.
Here.
Let me just check a few more just came in. So it looks like we have absent Commissioner Hudson, Commissioner White, and I also noticed that we have Representative Alternate Peoples with us tonight.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Commissioner Arnridge. Can you please mute your mic during the pledge?
Thank you. Will you please join me by placing your right hand over your heart and repeat after me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So our next item here is a public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Terry Ann, have we received any written public comments?
We have not received any written public comment.
And is there anyone who wants to speak on an item that is not on the agenda tonight? Terry Ann, do we see anyone?
No, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, so let's move ahead. We do not have any presentations tonight. So now we're on to the consent calendar. Does anyone from the board wish to pull an item from consent? No? Okay, Terry Ann, any written comments, public comments about the consent calendar?
No written public comment.
And does anyone from the public want to speak about items on the consent? Well, seeing none, then do we have a
I'll move
motion?
consent calendar, but
Okay, motion by Butt, a second.
Second.
Second by Arnridge. Terry Ann, can you conduct the roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Arnridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Butt,
yes.
Commissioner Geringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew,
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hudson? Absent. Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak?
Yes,
Commissioner Thorpe? Commissioner Thorpe? Vice Chair Glover?
Yes.
Chair Kelly?
Yes,
Commissioner Thorpe? Okay, motion passes unanimously with Commissioners Hudson, Thorpe, and White absent.
okay, thank you. So now we come to our regular agenda items. And the first item comes from the Administration and Projects Committee. It's an action item to be presented by Lindsay Willis. Lindsay, go ahead.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. This item is on your agenda as a legislative update. We provided a full update to the Administration and Projects Committee. And the reason this is carried over to your calendar this evening is because there is a particular bill that is moving much faster than we anticipated it would move. And we did not take a position. The bill is Assembly Bill 2441 at APC. So we did not take a position at APC, and we're bringing it before the committee this evening. It is a bill that specifically relates to innovation and public transit. And our friends at the California Transit Association have taken an oppose unless amended position. And we wanted to bring this bill before you for consideration of the authority also taking an oppose unless amended position on this bill so that we can go on record with our partners and also let our elected representatives know how we feel. And we have tonight Mark Watts, our state legislative advocate, with us, who's going to be able to give you a little more background on this bill before you consider whether to take a position on it or not. So with your permission, Chair, I'll turn it over to Mr. Watts.
Please. Mark?
Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, Chair Kelly and members of the board. The bill, more technically, the bill would require public entities that offer transit services to notify employee unions of theirs when the entity has determined they may want to pursue a procurement or plan the development of new vehicle technology for public transit services. The whole point is they want to make sure there's advanced notification to the labor representatives so they could negotiate and discuss the plan to move forward. As Lindsay pointed, I'm sorry. Yes, as Lindsay pointed out, the CTA, the California Transit Association, did pursue oppose unless amended. They have had amendments offered that would reduce the scope and breadth of the bill to focus only on autonomous vehicle technology and maintenance, and eliminate a couple of the other broader programs. That was not received well by the author's office nor the sponsors. The sponsors in this case are the Teamsters and the Amalgamated Transit Union. They reportedly are going to be offering amendments back. And in terms of status, this bill is sitting on the Senate floor, ready to be taken up in August when the legislature returns. And so that's why it's critical to take a position so we can talk to your delegation members and give them some insight into what we think about the bill. And so the recommendation would be to take a position to oppose unless amended, and we'll leave open-ended a little bit the amendments because we want to work in conjunction with the CTA so that if there are amendments that come back that we can accept jointly with CTA, that strengthens our hand. So that's it in essence, and I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mark. And this is Bill 2441, is that correct?
Yes, it is. Sorry, I didn't mention that.
Okay, it's AB 2441?
Correct, and it's authored by Assembly Member Calroff from South Bay area of San Francisco area.
Okay, any comments or questions from the board? Sue?
I guess the opposition to it is because it's so broad, is that
Yes.
I presume that CTA's, well, they try to narrow it down to autonomous vehicles. Their big concern is just that the bill is too broad.
Right. For example, it does include, even though it only talks about autonomous vehicles, when you get to the definition, it does include camera, voice systems, and quote unquote, other new technologies. So it's wide open. We don't know what they mean by that. We're trying to get it down to a narrow. I think the other opposition from a lot of the transit agencies that are supporting CTA is that this tilts the negotiations in favor of the unions away from the public agency by putting it into state law. So if it had naturally, if the idea of having a new vehicle technology emerged from an organization, they would then automatically have the obligation to negotiate, but then both sides would have to give and take. In this case, you make it statutory, and there's a concern that it's weighted against the public agency.
Karen Mitroff?
Just a comment to staff. I'm reading the report and it's very broad. It does, unless I'm not reading the right report, there's nothing in here about the bill or anything. It just says that you will update us. So I'd really like, is there anything that can be sent out to us that we can look at and maybe table this item and bring it back? I'm really not comfortable. Mark, I love your report, Lindsay, but it just, I like to read it myself, and it's not here unless people can tell me where I'm not looking.
No, you are correct, Commissioner Mischoff. This bill advanced so quickly that we did not have it in the report for APC, and it was actually a last minute decision to bring it before the authority.
And I get that, but
So
I think we could have had something sent out to us before this meeting, an hour ago, 2 hours ago, so that we could see what we're talking about.
we can certainly share the update on the bill. Yes.
I'll be pleased to put together a quick summary that we can get out to you very quickly in the next day.
Thank you. I hear labor. I hear it's too broad. I hear it's autonomous vehicles. There's moving parts here, and I really want to, I want to know a little bit more about it.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Newell?
I was going to say, this is similar to a bill that came up last year. And it came before the league, one of the subcommittees on transportation. And I get labor. I come from a family of labor. But these are roadblocks to technology. And, the last bill we saw, they said, and it came from labor, that all autonomous vehicles had to have a driver. Well, I think as an agency, and particularly us as an agency that is driving a lot of technology, it's too soon to be doing that. We don't even know what these are going to look like. So I think in principle, we should be against these types of roadblocks. And like all things, the legislature meets and puts up 2,500 bills a year. We're not even there yet. So to prejudge and say we have to go through these contracts and we don't know what it is, I think in principle, we should be against that. That'd be like saying Apple Computers should not invent computers because it's going to displace secretaries. That was the argument back then. And I just think in my heart, and I think as an agency, we ought to be looking at advancing technology, and we're very cautious about that. And I would suggest that we should actually come out against this bill unless amended. And just knowing enough, as we saw this jump up here just in the past few days, that it is really a roadblock. And I think we ought to have the roadblocks off, and at a point in time in the future, as the technology comes up, there will be all the public review of that, and the agencies from NHTSA to the state agencies looking at what are the safety measures. But this to me is just a way to block technology. And somebody's got to make the cars, somebody's got to make that technology, somebody's got to service it. We just don't know what that looks like. So I think in principle, I would suggest that we oppose this unless amended.
Thank you, Noel. Amy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to concur with Newell. And part of the challenge of the legislative process right now is so many of these bills just sat while everybody focused all their energy on the budget. So a lot of these bills have come forward now, and we are in a real time crunch. As Newell indicated, this is very similar to the bill that came last year. It would have a chilling effect on our ability in transit in California to innovate. It's a little ironic that the bill is coming from Silicon Valley. It is, I think it would be, we've been working over the years advocating in Washington, both Washington, DC, as well as the state of California, to be able to have funding, and as well as the American Association of Public Transit, to be able to have funding to be able to do the kind of innovation, things like the last mile, the kinds of work that we are doing in Contra Costa County. And this would just really severely impact our ability to do that. So I would appreciate too that this authority taking an oppose unless amended position. I think it would send a very strong signal. It would have a very powerful voice in Sacramento.
Thank you. Tom Butt?
Well, I support Amy and Newell. Seems like we have a timing problem. This could actually be back on the floor before we
Yep.
meet again. So I think that, some people may be uncomfortable with dealing with it right now, but I think we need to get up there and get on the board before it's too late. I mean, opposing unless amended is not, I mean, that's a pretty negotiable position. So I would support what they're saying.
Thank you. Any other comments here from the board? Representatives? Karen?
I'll say, Mark, don't bother. That's okay. I agree. That was what I wasn't hearing, was this conversation. And I just would ask staff in the future, please get us this information before we vote. I don't think that's asking for too much. I'll support the opposed unless amended.
Any other comments from the board? And Terry Ann, do we have any written public comments at all?
No written public comment.
And does anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? So seeing none, then do I hear a motion? And there's not
Madam-
one written. Yeah, so Newell, go ahead.
I would move that we oppose unless amended on this position at this time.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so a motion by Arnold, seconded by Haskew. Any further discussion? Terry Ann, could you take the roll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Arnridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Butt,
Yes,
Commissioner Geringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson is absent, Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe, Commissioner White,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glover,
Yes.
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe. Okay, motion passes unanimously with Commissioners Hudson and Thorpe absent.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So our next item tonight will be presented by Stephanie Hu to discuss the East County Dynamic Personal Microtransit Project. Stephanie?
Good evening, Chair Kelly. Can you hear me okay and see the slides?
Yes.
Good evening to you, Chair and the Commissioners. Stephanie Hu, Director of Projects at CCTA. Agenda item 8B is an action item that is seeking authority board's approval to execute an MOU with Tri-Delta Transit to advance the Dynamic Personal Microtransit or DPMT project. So staff had brought this project before the board a couple of times over the last year, so I will just provide a really quick update on where we've been so far. The DPMT project aims to tackle East County priorities that include improving transit experience for the users, providing transit services that have equitable access, support economic development in East County by increasing mobility, preparing for the future in transit technology, provide first mile, last mile connection at major transit stops like BART stations in East County, and be able to show the public the benefits of transit in order to encourage mode shift and transit use. In 2021, the East County cities and the county collaborated and conducted a feasibility study to assess the viability of a DPMT project in East County. The study assumed glideways technology, but we know there are other technologies out there that can do or implement such a project. The study also evaluated the feasibility of attracting private financing and public funding delivery methods for the project. And the study concluded that DPMT deployment is feasible in East County. Based on the feedback received from key stakeholders during this feasibility study, a conceptual alignment was developed. The conceptual route shown here is a continuous path that links existing and future development in major destinations. This alignment is not final by any means. During the first phase of the project, we would like the project team to refine the alignment and determine a logical initial segment to implement first. The key parameters that we'll be looking for in a DPMT project in East County are that the system be on-demand service with short wait time. We're looking for personal microtransit, so each ride is for one party to get from point A to point B. The system is to be fully autonomous with zero emission vehicles. The elements in the system will need to comply with federal Made in America rules and be ADA accessible. Since we'll be definitely be pursuing federal funding for the project. Operationally, we're looking for a system with a smaller vehicles that are fully separated from traffic with dedicated space. They'll need to be operated in both directions separately, and they can be operated at gray or gray separated. So staffs received feedback at our last presentation that seeing some simulation of videos of how a DPMT system will look like would be helpful to understand the project. And as mentioned earlier, there are companies out there beside Glideways that can implement a DPMT project. So I have 3 short videos from 3 firms that have the technology that can do this work. And the following videos are from Beep, Glideways, and Together. And since there isn't a lot of money for the project, for our project right now, where we cannot develop our own simulation at this time. So I'm hoping these vendor videos will convey what we're trying to do. And in the videos, you'll see DPMTs deployed in urban settings, connecting key points and destinations within a gated community at airports, school, and business park. And the first one is from Beep.
Beep ensures equitable access. With proven technologies, our autonomous solutions provide safer and sustainable alternative transportation for those seeking and needing it. Beep enhances mobility for all in various types of communities, whether it's establishing shared transportation services within new and existing communities, or within urban centers where existing transit networks need greater connectivity. Beep creates a seamless passenger experience. Our engagement with all members of the community also makes Beep accessible and ensures riders' needs are addressed today and for the future. With Beep autonomous mobility solutions, life is better in motion.
And this next video is from Glideways. It's not narrated, so I'll do my best. It shows a DPMT system connecting San Jose International Airport and the Diridon station in downtown San Jose. In this example, the vehicles are running on an elevated guideway, as you see, and which is then separated from the roadway and the pedestrians or bicyclists down below. And this last one is from To Get There. So since completion of the feasibility study, Tri-Delta Transit and CCTA have been collaborating on how to deliver the DPMT project. We've conducted an industry outreach in February, and we received feedback from interested firms. We continue to refine our delivery strategy using public-private partnership model that includes a developer team with designated roles that can access a range of funding opportunities to navigate the funding constraints and P3 restrictions. And then eventually Tri-Delta and CCTA will jointly contract with a P3 team. To move forward effectively, an MOU has been developed that describes how CCTA and Tri-Delta will continue to collaborate to deliver the project. The MOU defines the roles and responsibilities of our two agencies, such as jointly collaborate to define project scope, budget, and framework to advance the project, release an RFP to select a developer team, and to negotiate with the selected team. It describes advancing the project using the P3 delivery model and to develop and implement the DPMT project if it is financially feasible. The MOU also describes the procurement process to identify a development team and the process for future agreements with the developer team. And the Tri-Delta board approved the MOU at their meeting in May. This is a tentative schedule for the project. With the execution of the MOU this month, CCTA and Tri-Delta will continue to collaborate on the project. Staff has been working on drafting the RFP to procure the developer team, which we plan to bring back to the board in September for approval. We anticipate selecting a developer team by early next year and executing a system pre-development agreement in the first quarter of 2023. In the initial phase of the project, the developer team will help identify a first segment of the project, funding opportunities, and also a funding plan for this first segment. And looking out with a feasible funding framework, the system development agreement to implement project is anticipated in 2 to 3 years. So to conclude, this staff is seeking authorization for the chair to execute MOU 91.00.01 with East Contra Costa Transit Authority that defines roles and responsibilities for tasks related to the planning and advancement of the DPMT project. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Let me close the.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate that. So coming back, Tom Butt. Tom, we can't hear you. Yeah, can you unmute yourself? Okay, Tom's having a little bit of an issue here. Are there any other, we'll come back to him. Are there any other comments from the board or questions for Stephanie?
Okay, I got it now. I don't know what the
Okay,
problem. I brought the same thing up in APC meeting. I mean, I think this is great. I have no problem with it, and I know it's grant funded, but I would like to see more about the big picture, about what this is going to cost and where the funding might come from. And one of the answers last time was, well, the first phase of it might be just a small component, and that's fine too. But I'm having a hard time sort of understanding how the economics of this comes together. And if somebody could put that together, I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. Good point. Newell?
I was going to say, at APC, we spent a lot of time on this. What I think this offers us, and again, as an agency that is trying to lead and help support technologies, one, I think doing it in East County, West County, we have the greatest opportunities for success because of the landscape, land available and things. But the goal is to do a study to prove whether or not this first mile, last mile system works. We know the autonomous vehicles that were illustrated there, those have been used as it was shown around the world and here in the United States. And like anything, this isn't a project. This is not a project yet. It is an opportunity to study and research. Can we make it work here in our county. And if we can make it work here, that can be adapted anywhere. And so I think the clear reason you don't see a budget, and Tom and I are both architects, we're used to having a budget, we set a schedule and we do it, we develop, we just execute. This is the planning stage. It's like a startup, but we're using technologies that are out there that have been well tested. And our goal is to show that, yes, this will work. So it needs data. There's a lot of collection of data that's going to show that it'll work between point A and point B. And that we will then say, here's what it's going to cost. So we will have those checkpoints to go along. And eventually we'll get to a point where the system is well-defined enough. It has a clear scope. And at that point in time, we will then go out and make a major proposal, both for federal and state money. And there is a lot of federal money that is just for these kinds of projects there. And those funds are over the next 5 years. So we have an opportunity here in the next 12, 18 months that we're going to develop this to be part of that solution and the opportunity for funding. So Tom's right. We don't know what it's going to cost, but we're also not making that decision, nor are we committing to that. So I think it's an exciting opportunity to demonstrate. And boy, if we could do it in any of the places that were shown on the map, we can do it anywhere. I think it's a great opportunity for us.
Maureen?
Yes, I just wanted to point out that I'm also very much in favor of this. Of course, I don't have a vote, but there was an article on NPR sometime in the last week or so about a small, basically rural town somewhere in mid-America that was trying just this. And they compared, they caught all the statistics and all of the data, and they wound up selling about 3 or 4, I don't know what the whole magnitude was of their system, of their regular buses, because this was more efficient. It was more what people wanted. It got them where they wanted to go at the time they wanted to go. So I'm very much in favor of exploring what this is able to do in our context.
Thank you. Federal?
Yeah, thank you. And I want to thank the last 2 speakers for your comments. I think it's important that while there's an opportunity to look at what funding sources will come from even prior to this becoming a project, this is an opportunity. And this shows what could happen in parts of our region where it is not so global in terms of the type of transit systems that's available. And certainly the Eastern and Western ends are up for these type of opportunities, as we sometimes find ourselves in a situation where we sub-regional from everything. And this gives an opportunity to really look at some of these great opportunities. And just like anything else, it's trying to get that data before it becomes project, and then we're seeking funders. So I would move the item here if it's appropriate time.
Thank you. Thank you, Federal. Are there any other comments here from the board? Questions? Terry Ann, do we have any written public comments?
No written public comment.
But I
Looks
see
like
that we do have
public, yeah.
a member of the public. So Mr. Olson?
Yeah, hi, good evening. I live in Pittsburgh, which is in the area where this project will be. As a bicyclist, I would like to be assured that I won't be run over by one of these vehicles. I am not against this project, but rule 1 is stay alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Are there comments from other members of the public? No, then, okay. Then Federal, did you want to move the item?
So move.
Second.
And there's a second by,
White.
I think it's by Arnrich.
White.
Okay.
No,
Any
White.
fur-
White.
Not me, White.
Oh, by White. I couldn't tell. Okay, thank you. So any further discussion? No, Terrian, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Arnrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Butt,
Yes.
Commissioner Geringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe, Commissioner White, Commissioner White,
Yes.
thank you. Vice Chair Glover,
Yes.
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe. Okay, motion passes unanimously with Commissioners Hudson and Thorpe absent.
Thank you, everyone. And I have to agree, this is very, very exciting. I'm going to be really, really intrigued to see how this can work out. So I'm kind of sitting on pins and needles, but it's just really cool. Anyway, so moving on, Stephanie, who has another item to discuss an amendment to the WSP agreement for Innovate 680. Stephanie?
Yes, it's me again. Item 8C is another action item in front of you, seeking your approval for amendment number 2 to agreement number 530 with WSP for Innovate 680 program and project support. The Authority Board entered into agreement number 530 with WSP in July 2019 to provide strategic development, corridor-wide support, and system management for the Innovate 680 program. The contract amount was $5 million. Under the program and corridor support tasks, the WSP team has provided services for program management and coordination, stakeholder outreach efforts such as the TAC and PAC, contract management for the consultant teams working under Innovate 680, program and budget controls, and coordination between all the projects and discipline teams within the program. For system management, WSP tasks included developing the program concept of operations, system engineering and management plan, and strategic development plan. In July 2021, the Authority Board approved amendment number 1 to add scope for work specifically for the Coordinated Adaptive Ramp Metering project. This additional work involves system planning, engineering, and environmental support to evaluate CARM for the 680 corridor. This included design concepts, preliminary cost estimates. Also, the team was able to begin the process of coordinating with Caltrans to incorporate CARM elements with Caltrans' own ramp metering project that's currently being developed. The additional budget from amendment number 1 was also included initiating the project concept of operation, preliminary system verification and validation plan, and a preliminary O&M plan. The team also completed the Caltrans project initiation document in November 2021. The current budget for the contract is only sufficient to cover the cost for services up to the end of fiscal year 21-22. Staff is seeking the Authority Board's approval to execute amendment number 2, totaling $3.8 million to cover WSP services through the end of June 2024. The additional budget is for completion of the project approval and environmental document phase for segment 1 of CARM, and to continue coordination with Caltrans to incorporate CARM elements into their ramp metering project. The amendment also covers cost for continuation of program and corridor support, system management services, and supporting authority staff to deliver the ongoing projects under Innovate 680. The amendment also includes a small contingency for optional traffic analysis work. So since it's been half a year, I think, since we last reported out to the board on our progress on Innovate 680, staff thought this would be a good opportunity to give a quick update on the program and projects. So this slide should look very familiar to you all. These are the 6 initial projects under Innovate 680. For a quick update, the Express Lanes project currently is, the project's proposing to close the northbound Express Lane gap on 680 between Navorna and Walnut Creek and the Benicio Martinez Bridge. The project is in environmental clearance phase, and the team has been working hard on the VMT mitigation strategy and proposal. We're scheduled to meet with Caltrans later this month to present our proposal for VMT mitigation. The team is also working on traffic operations analysis and design standard decision document. The part-time transit lane project has identified a first phase to be northbound 680 between Bollinger Canyon Road and Ignacio Valley Road. The project team recently submitted the draft project initiation document to Caltrans. The team is addressing comments received and plans to submit the final version in August. Shared mobility hubs. The team is working on a feasibility study to look at 8 mobility hub sites along the corridor. They have completed a site background and identification report. And the team has also met with each local jurisdictions and agency partners to gather comments on the 8 hub sites and the concepts. And the study is anticipated to be completed in the fall. The automated driving system is the pilot program with the 3 shared autonomous vehicle demonstration projects. The project team continues to collaborate with UC Berkeley, Verizon, and Nissan on use cases. Staff has completed contract negotiations with a new SAV vendor, which you'll hear more about later this evening. The team also is coordinating with County Connection on a master agreement and scope of work. The Mobility as a Service, or MOS project team continues to develop the MOS app. Current work includes resolving issues with their trip planner platform and integration between various elements like car share, ride share, and connection protection. And the software and app development work is ongoing. And lastly, the Advanced Technology Project consists of currently the Coordinated Adaptive Ramp Metering, or CARM. The first segment has been identified as northbound 680 between Olympic and Alcosta. The team has been working on a consensus memo that describes the process to achieve CARM implementation along with the Caltrans Ramp Metering project. The project team submitted preliminary geometric design drawings to Caltrans, and then coordination with the ramp metering project that Caltrans is doing has been ongoing. The Advanced Technology Project currently or recently kicked off a coordinated adaptive traffic signals project, and we are currently collecting data from our local jurisdictions. So staff has been pursuing various funding opportunities for the program and its projects. And here's a summary of what's gone on this year, this calendar year. In March, CTC programmed STIP funds through the 2022 STIP cycle for CARM and northbound express lanes. 25 million was programmed for the design and construction for the first phase of CARM, and 15 million was programmed for the design of the first phase of northbound express lanes. In April, the Tri-Valley Transportation Council, or TVTC, programmed $5.7 million for CARM. We also submitted 2 major funding applications this year. In March, we submitted a Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program, or TIRCIP, application for the 1-seat ride express bus service on 680. The request was for $124 million. And we learned earlier this month that we received partial funding, about $35 million for 6 hydrogen fuel zero emission buses, first phase of the hydrogen fueling facility, shared mobility hub at Bollinger Canyon Road, and bus on shoulder testing and training at Gomentum Station. In May, we submitted the mega grant application that included a request for each of the Innovate 680 projects, as well as other key projects along 680 corridor. And the funding request was $395 million. And we're waiting for the results on that one. The program concept operations was completed end of last year, and the ConOps described how the program 6 projects and the existing local and regional system will work together. Since the completion of the ConOps, WSP team has been working on an implementation plan. This plan is a bridging document that distills the vision articulated in the program ConOps into actionable steps that helps to serve as a roadmap on implementing the program and the projects. And as we develop and carry out this plan, one major topic to tackle in this year and the next would be CCTA's role in operation and maintenance. Some of the key O&M principles the program team has developed are that a regional transportation management system, or center, RTMC, would be ideal to tie together different O&M needs for our program and in our region, since the existing O&M system is so fragmented. But we also know that it takes a while to create or implement an RTMC, so as much as 10 years. So in the short term, we need to really maximize the use and leverage the existing, though fragmented operations system and build towards this larger or future RTMC. We need to identify which system components could be hosted in the cloud versus those that need a physical space. And also we need to assess the ability for a 24/7 access. We need to identify any gaps in the existing operation systems and how CCTA can play a role or be involved in the county operations to fill those gaps. And this county operations could be small in footprint to start as CCTA and other partners build towards a larger RTMC. The county operations could be 2 to 4 full-time employees in an existing facility. This can help build towards that longer vision or long-term solution for a county-wide joint operation, or RTMC. And even with the RTMC in place, there will still be an important role for the county operations to implement the Innovate 680 program. Staff and program team have been discussing topics regarding O&M at the PAC level. We also just completed one-on-one meetings with each of the local jurisdictions along 680 corridor with the technical staff and also the executive staff. And then O&M topics were discussed at those meetings. And lastly, just want to say we will be bringing back the O&M topic before the authority board in the near future, specifically the board retreat that's coming up for further discussion and decision making. This is a current schedule for the program and projects. There's a lot here, so don't need to memorize it, but this is really to convey that the projects and the program began their planning phases as Innovate 680 began in 2020. So while most of the ongoing completed efforts have been planning documents with Caltrans and other stakeholders, they're really essential and required to advance the projects into engineering and design phases. And so we anticipate design phases to be completed in the next couple years for projects like the automated driving systems and the segment 1 of CARM. And with that, I'm going to conclude and summarize that this agenda item is an action item. Staff is seeking authorization for the board chair to execute amendment number 2 to agreement number 530 with WSP in amount of $3.8 million, which includes $161,566 in contingency for new total agreement value of $9,786,183, and to allow the executive director or designee to make any non-substantive changes to the language. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll take down my slides.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's quite a mouthful.
I know, a lot to say.
You do that very well, believe me. That's wonderful. Okay, so any questions or comments here from the board? Yes, Newell.
I just want to compliment Stephanie for becoming a really good presenter. You have been able to take these very complicated projects, put it down to a board level discussion. And that's really hard to do in these. This is also exciting. It's also great. I know staff has been working hard, we've been told, because our questions at APC was, where are we at with Caltrans? Are they on board for all of this? We have a lot of things that really need Caltrans to pivot and look at the world differently. And you guys have all done a great job in helping get them on board. And it's going to make this project and all these other related projects move better. So well done. I completely support this. This is amazing, the amount of money that we're getting to fund these projects, and kudos to everybody else.
Thank you. Other questions or comments here from the board?
I will comment if no one else is in the queue. I just wanted to say thank you to staff. They've certainly done an outstanding job, and one of the things that I think is really important is when you take this to the public, these type of projects to the public. And Stephanie and Tim have just done an outstanding job meeting with the various jurisdictions and laying this out and being very transparent and in terms of the process and the partners that we have on board that it's going to take to make it a reality. So just want to thank them for that great work and appreciate it.
Thank you, Federal. And I agree with everybody. And I'm very excited about this TIRCIP grant and the express buses, the hydrogen buses. I mean, we're really moving ahead. This is just dynamite. So any other questions or comments from the board? No, Terry-Ann, any written comments?
No written public comment.
And anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? No, we'll see. No public comment. Okay. So bringing it back, would someone like to make a motion to move this item?
I'll
Move
move
the item,
it.
Noah.
Okay, I'm going to give it to Tom Butt. He's going to move the item, and I'm seconded by Teresa Geringer. Terry-Ann, can we have the roll, please?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Arnrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Butt,
Yes.
Commissioner Geringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe, Commissioner White,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glover,
Yes.
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe. Okay, motion passes unanimously with Commissioners Hudson and Thorpe absent.
Okay, thank you. So the next item this evening will be presented by Terry Ann Grover, and it's the conduct of meeting of the legislative bodies of the authority. Terry Ann, take it away.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and Representatives. As you know, since October, the board has reconsidered the circumstances every 30 days and authorized meeting virtually under the Brown Act provision exemptions of Assembly Bill 361 through August 2022. The Contra Costa Health Services guidance was in your packet and was effective as of June 14th. As of this time, they have not further updated that guidance, and it continues to encourage online meetings and recommendations for social distancing. And therefore, the board has the option to continue holding its meetings solely remotely under this guidance. First, I'll provide you some updates. Our boardroom is still not ready for hybrid meetings, but this past Monday, the cameras and equipment have started to be installed to convert the boardroom from audio to video. It's anticipated the installation, all the equipment will be done, excuse me, by the end of August. Our first meeting is in September on the 1st, and that is the Administration and Projects Committee meeting. We are continuing to address the public access concerns that we have with our building manager. We've been in discussions with them and sent a formal letter in May. However, at this time, due to safety and security concerns, they still have not established a date for reopening the building. And yet we have not yet received a response from that letter that we sent in May as well. So that concludes my updates, but I'll now jump into the staff recommendations. So the first recommendation is that we reaffirm the board's decision made on May 18th to continue conducting remote meetings for all legislative bodies of the authority through August 2022 in compliance with AB 361. Our second staff recommendation is that we return to hybrid or in-person meetings in September for the authority board meetings only, and that would include the in-person board workshop in mid-September, and that we continue to conduct remote meetings for all other legislative bodies of the authority. Our third staff recommendation would be that the board authorize that all of the special meetings of the authority board continue to be held remotely to reaffirm the board's decision and stay compliant with the 30-day requirement of AB 361. Further considerations include that if any of the legislative body meetings remain virtual under AB 361, the special meetings will need to be held, and that would be in August and September. So we would recommend that one be held August 17th. And that would be 28 days after this board meeting, and then September 7th before the planning committee meeting, because there's another 35-day lapse between the August and September meeting. If the board returns to hybrid or in-person meetings for the regular board meetings, they would be conducted under the normal Brown Act provisions for noticing and conducting meetings and would no longer utilize the exemptions under AB 361. Having heard our updates, recommendations, and consideration, staff seeks direction from the board on how to conduct meetings in September for the board and all legislative bodies of the authority. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm available to respond to any questions and look forward to receiving feedback and direction from the board. Thank you.
Terry, and just for clarification, so you're proposing just a quick special meeting in August to continue this, because we have to do this every 30 days?
Yeah, and that'd be part of the motion if the board does choose to go back to in-person or hybrid, because our meetings, as you know, have been running about 7 to 8 minutes, and wouldn't make sense to come in for those meetings.
Right,
And
right. Okay, so that would be August 17th, correct?
Yeah, third Wednesday in August that would follow our normal, except being our dark month.
Okay, got it, got it. So any questions or comments here from the board? No, everybody's shaking their heads, no. Terry Ann, any written public comment?
No written public comment.
And anybody from the public wish to speak on this item? No?
No public
So
comment.
then do I hear a motion here?
I would move that we accept all of Terry Ann's recommendations, including the August 17th special meeting.
Okay, motion by Arnich. Is there a second?
Second.
Glover seconds.
Second by Nowak. Terry Ann, could you take the roll, please?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Arnrich,
Aye.
Commissioner Butt,
Yes.
Commissioner Geringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew,
yes, 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 yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Noah,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe, Commissioner White,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glover,
Yes.
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe. Okay, motion passes unanimously with Commissioners Hudson and Thorpe absent.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So we'll look forward to a very brief August 17th special meeting to continue with this. Okay, so Jack Hall is going to present the next meeting to discuss funding and agreements with BEEP for an automatic driving system and Bay Area mobility on demand projects as part of Innovate 680. Jack?
Okay.
Good evening, Chair Kelly and Commissioners. My name is Jack Hall, and I'm the ITS Connected Autonomous Vehicle Program Manager for CCTA. So this evening, we are asking for approval of two agreements related to our Innovate 680 automated driving system project and our Mobility on Demand project, plus the approval to utilize the Fund Exchange Program. Both agreements are with the company BEEP, so I will present both agreements and seek approval for both at the end of my report. I would also like to note that the CEO of BEEP, Joe Moy, is on the Zoom meeting and is available to answer any questions that you might have for him. The first agreement is number 589 and is for the Automated Driving System Grant Project 1, First Mile, Last Mile Shared Autonomous Vehicles, or SAVs, at Rossmore and Walnut Creek. This project will increase transit accessibility for the senior community using SAVs. Data gathered during operations of the shuttle will be used to develop safety performance measures for planning and implementation of future SAV projects. We had originally planned to use Local Motors Ollie shuttles for this project. However, Local Motors is no longer in business. In March 2022, the authority initiated a procurement to replace Local Motors services. The procurement resulted in a response from 4 vendors, with our review panel rating BEEP number 1. BEEP does not build autonomous vehicles, but instead operates a variety of autonomous vehicles. This will allow us to keep BEEP on the project in an always changing autonomous vehicle environment. A portion of BEEP's scope of work includes road, route, and path analysis and optimization, including communication validation, regulatory application, managed services, which include a diagnostic and operations command center, and they will be providing a technical manager, attendance services, and a site supervisor. The cost of the scope of work for the ADS project is $3,065,916, which BEEP will contribute $1,532,958 of in-kind services and $1,532,958 will be funded with ADS Grant and Local Partnership Program, or LPP funds. Agreement number 591 is for the Mobility on Demand Grant, or MOD project. For this project, BEEP will provide technical staff to respond to and develop a needed application programming interface, or API, to integrate with the MOD application. BEEP will then deploy SAVs at Bishop Ranch for initial testing with the MOD application and operate SAVs for a 6-month demonstration of the MOD application. The cost of the scope of work for the MOD project is $800,000. BEEP will contribute $400,000 of in-kind services, and $400,000 will be funded with the Fund Exchange Reserve funds. For this agreement, we are asking for approval to utilize the Fund Exchange Reserve in the amount of $400,000. And these funds will leverage $8 million in MOD grant funds. With that, staff seeks approval of Resolution 2223-P, which will utilize $400,000 in Fund Exchange Reserve funds, authorization for the chair to execute Agreement 589 with BEEP in the amount of $1,532,958, and Agreement number 591 with BEEP in the amount of $400,000 to provide autonomous shuttles for demonstration projects and allow the executive director or designee to make any non-substantive changes to the language. That concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jack. And Mr. Moore, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, Chairwoman Kelly, thank you very much. Good to see you. And, first let me commend the CCTA. It's just such a pleasure to listen to the healthy discussion and debate around the importance of innovation and technology to deliver that next generation of mobility for our citizens. We're incredibly passionate at our company about the importance of everything that these vehicles represent to our future. I heard some discussion around the importance of mobility equity specific to microtransit and the need to extend services in many communities across our country. Certainly shouldn't be lost on this group that the impact that these vehicles will have environmentally, being fully electric vehicles. And I think, maybe most importantly in the area of safety. One of your citizens had talked about the importance of safety and not to spout off too many statistics, but 94% of all accidents on our roadways are caused by human error, distraction, or impairment. These vehicles operate 3 times faster than a human can in acknowledging and recognizing an obstacle and responding to it and actuating the brakes. And so this is all about improving safety on our roadways and saving lives. So we couldn't be more thrilled as a company to be part of this, and really excited about, having an impact on not only this program, but I think what it'll represent in many areas across our country for future adoption. And the last thing I would say is, having had a chance to recently visit there and seeing the great work that's being done at Gomenham Station, CCTA is really going to be on the map, I think, for being one of the leaders in our country to really not only be out in front of this important wave of technology, but also really impacting everything that we need to do in extending mobility, in the US of A here. So I applaud you all. And again, we're humbled to be part of it going forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moy. So questions here from the board? Comments? Boy, you're a quiet group tonight, huh? Okay. Terry Ann, written public comments, or is there any comments from the public? Anybody who wants to speak?
No written public comments and no verbal either.
I don't see any raised hands from the public either. So bringing it back, then would someone like to move this resolution?
I would move the item, both contract items as presented tonight.
Thank you. And is there a second?
Second, Geringer.
Okay, motion by Arnie, second by Geringer. Any further discussion? No. Terry Ann, please call the roll.
Commissioner Arnrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Butt,
Yes.
Commissioner Geringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Haskew,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nowak,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe, Commissioner White,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glover,
Yes.
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Thorpe. Okay, motion passes unanimously with Commissioners Hudson and Thorpe absent.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jack and Mr. Moy. And I just want to say, having seen some of these vehicles in action, they are very, very safe. They react far faster than I could to even the smallest thing coming in its path. So I'm very, very excited to see this move ahead. Very excited about BEEP. Okay, so let's move on. And now we're going to planning committee items, and John Huang has an update and feedback on the OBAG 3 program and call for projects. John?
Good evening, Chair Kelly and Commissioners. John Huang, Director of Planning. Tonight, I'll recapitulate the OBAG 3 programs and give you all a sneak peek of the applications that we received. I just want to note that Colin Clark, or one of our staff, has been a lot of time in this program the last 6 months, and then he'll be running the slides tonight. Next slide, please, Colin. Again, this is an MTC policy, and this is an MTC program, and essentially an MTC call for project. And as CCTA, we're just trying to find the best project to elevate to MTC for funding consideration. Again, this program is funded by SDP and CMAQ funds, and it's funding for fiscal year 22-23 to 25-26. And MTC will like all the projects to align with the Plan Bear 2050. Next slide. With your approval, the call for project was actually released back in May 23, and the project's deadline due date was June 15th. Just last July 15th, I'm sorry. I'll talk more about what we received so far as far as the application. As you recall, the program was kind of divided into 3 different categories. Again, 47 million is our target amount, with a 57 million nomination amount that MTC has requested for us to provide to them. The first category is the smart signals. CCTA will be the project sponsor for that project. The second category is the safe after school non-infrastructure project. CCTA will also be the project sponsor. Along with CCTA, the partners will be Street Smarts Diablo region, Street Smarts San Ramon Valley, and Contra Costa Health Services. The third category, which is essentially a competitive process through a call for projects, will be the active transportation and safety. For the Smart Signal project, we're essentially upgrading all the equipments along the region within all the cities and towns in the unincorporated county, and upgrade the equipment and deploy ITS equipment as shown. I just want to mention that this project, we've met with all the cities and towns and the county, and all jurisdictions within the county will be part of this project.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the California Environmental Quality Act.
Could somebody mute themselves, please? Thank you, and let John speak. Thank you.
Thank you. So, countywide, we've identified 315 intersections. The total cost of the project is $32 million, and we'll be asking roughly $27.6 million from OVAC 3. The next category, as I mentioned earlier, we ended up having CCTA be the project sponsors with the partners I mentioned earlier. We're going to provide, fill in the gaps and provide a safe after school education and outreach and evaluation for all schools K through 12 within the county. And the number of schools were calculated was 274 schools, K through 12. And we want to reach out to a little bit under 169 students. The total project cost is $4.4 million, and we're asking $3.7 million from OVAC 3. Next slide. This is a call for project, competitive projects, a competitive process where the cities and towns and unincorporated county, BART, AC Transit, East Bay Regional Parks can apply for. Minimum amount we were asking for these jurisdictions was to have a project a minimum of 500,000. Next slide. So this is a sneak peek right here. Again, we just received these applications in last Friday, and we will be evaluating them in the next couple of weeks. We received 18 applications total, including AC Transit, BART, and East Bay Regional Parks. Total number of applications was 29. And we did have about 10 applications where there was joint sponsorship. The projects involved ped bike, trails, and transit improvements. We're well oversubscribed at $111 million. We only have about $25 million available, and that's the nomination amount. Next slide. For scoring the project's application, we're looking at These criteria, which includes eligibility, deliverability, community support, and community serve. Next slide. So we've, for the next 2 weeks, starting this Friday, we're going to assemble the panel, which consists of 6 individuals made up of 4 members of the CVPAC committee and 2 members from the TCC committee. And they will be evaluating all the projects received. This Friday, we'll have the cities present, and then the following Thursday, the panel is going to evaluate and prioritize the project. These are the scoring categories that the evaluation panel will be looking at. Next slide. And keep in mind that the scoring prioritization that we do will come up with the top projects from the county and provide to MTC, as I mentioned earlier, and MTC will be tacking on their evaluation process. So at the end of the day, we will be competing against all the other 8 counties. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we're presenting the OBAC 3 update to the board tonight, and really provide public inputs if there's any public members that want to provide comments on the process. We will bring in the project list back to this board in September 21st, and we plan to submit the final project nomination list to MTC by the end of September. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and Colin Clark also can answer any question you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. So questions here.
Through the chair.
Yes.
John, what's the makeup of the review panel?
Yeah, so the review panel, there'll be 4 members from the CPAC committee and 2 members from the Technical Coordinating Committee, TCC.
Okay, thank you.
And John, what is the CPAC committee? Can you spell that out for us?
I'm
'Cause
sorry,
we don't
yeah,
understand all these acronyms.
Yeah, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee.
Okay, got it. And then the other one is the Technical Coordinating Committee?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, Terry Ann, written comments anywhere?
No written public comment.
And does anyone from the public wish to comment on this? This is just an information only item. Is that right, John?
Yes, yes, it is.
No public comment.
Okay, well, seeing none, thank you, everyone. And John, just keep us apprised of what happens. Thank you. So moving ahead, John Huang also has another item here. He's going to provide an update on the action plan and the countywide transportation plan. John?
Okay, good evening again. So for this item, we'll provide the board an update of what we've been doing to update the action plans and the countywide transportation plan. A year ago, July, I presented to the board a roadmap of the process. And for over the past 9 months, staff has been working closely with the RTPCs, the Regional Transportation Planning Committees, and the cities on developing the action plans. And then regarding the CTP, all these action plan work will be rolling up to the CTP. And just to remind you that the CTP was first adopted in '95, and we've been essentially updating the CTP every 4 to 5 years. This time, I think we want to do more than update. We want to kind of revamp the CTP and kind of look forward a little bit in the future. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Matt Kelly, Senior Transportation Planner here at CCTA, to go over the action plan and work that we've been doing, and I'll wrap up at the end. Matt.
Thanks, John. Good evening, Chair Kelly and Authority board members. Great to be here tonight, Matt Kelly. Senior Planner with the authority. So as John mentioned, we are underway with the action plan updates. There are 5 of them in the county. As you know, the southwest portion of our county is divided up into 2 areas, La Miranda and then Tri-Valley, where we partner with our friends and neighbors to the south in Alameda County. This will feed up into the countywide transportation plan. Out of these action plans and the action plan, we want bold, innovative ideas. We don't want these to be the same action plans from 2017 and the same countywide plan from 2017. Over the last year or so, you as a board have adopted lots of changes to the growth management program and the action plans because of changes in state law as they relate to SB 743 and vehicle miles traveled. So we're really implementing that in these updates. We're looking at through the lens of a holistic, multimodal transportation system, looking at everything as a whole, bringing in new lenses of equity, safety, and climate change, and new technology, as we've been talking about all evening. That will be captured in the action plans. So, as I mentioned, the action plan is a way that the growth management program is actually implemented locally on your local streets and roads. As part of the updates of the action plan, we will be establishing quantitative service objectives, ways to measure whether we're able to implement our action plans on our local roadways and other routes that I'll be talking about in a second. If you're not monitoring and you don't have a way to measure, there's no way to track your performance, or whether that be good or bad. So as part of the plans, we're going to be identifying regional routes, those quantitative objectives, and then actions to go along with them to support them. Actions can be projects, programs, but basically things that support those objectives. So if you were around in 2017, you may remember MTSOs, the Multimodal Transportation Service Objectives. Those have been rebranded as Regional Transportation Objectives, or RTOs. So new acronym for you all to learn. And as part of that, we've expanded the types of routes we're looking at. Previously, we looked at roadway and arterials and freeways. Now we're expanding that to have transit routes of regional significance and bike and pedestrian routes of regional significance. And we've added these non-modal topics of safety, climate change, and equity. Those you all approved last year, actually in 2020. And we've, over the course of the build up to these action plans, we've added technology as a separate topic that will be covered in all the action plans. As part of the initial development of the action plans, we did a public outreach effort, and we've talked to you at the RTPCs about some of these, but wanted to give the full authority board an overview of what we did in the springtime. We did 11 pop-up events and 5 virtual workshops. The pop-up events were scattered throughout the 5 action plan areas, with at least 2 events in each action plan area. These were meant to be kind of non-traditional outreach events where we're not hosting a meeting where people had to show up or log on. We were trying to intercept people where they were at. So at farmers markets, at BART stations, and at Unity Park in Richmond on Sundays, where they do these self-help rides around town. So we hung out at the staging area and talked to folks there. So we actually did a much better job, I think, of outreach at these events, because we spoke to hundreds more people at these events. We got, I think, somewhere around 550 individual comments at the pop-up events. And we got a few more at our virtual workshops and through the website, ccta.net/CTP, as you see at the top of the screen. But really the pop-up events were really how we reached the public and got unsolicited comments from around the county. And so I think that will inform our outreach going further into the action plan and CTP process over the next year or so. And some of what we heard in those events and different outreach opportunities was that people wanted, basically better regional coordination for transportation of all modes. People don't care when they've crossed a city line or a county line. They just want their trip to be easy, whether it's in a car or on a bike or on a bus. They wanted more frequent bus service. They wanted more information about their bus ride or their BART ride when they're at these major transit hubs like BART stations. Better bike access and conditions for biking on major arterials. And that's for transit and pedestrians as well, and for cars. So just improving the condition of the arterials for all modes. More EV charging facilities, whether that's public or private. Bike and scooter share programs, safety improvements for all modes, and improved paratransit. That's just a sampling of what we heard. We included as an attachment in the packet today a public outreach summary, so you can go look by sub area and see what comments popped up most in your favorite area. Some of the RTOs that we're going to be talking to your RTPC tax about over the next month, and then coming to the policy boards over the next month or so. This is what's being proposed, but these will be fine-tuned for each action plan. But just to give you a flavor of what's being talked about at the tax, as looking at the percent completion of the countywide low-stress bike network. What is the freeway peak hour delay index? What is the comparison between travel times for someone in a car and someone on transit? Looking at rural road level of service. So, we want to look at rural roads. They have different needs. So looking at their level of service. The number of killed or injured in collisions, and then looking at collisions in particular around schools. And then how are our equity priority communities accessing jobs? How many jobs can they access in a certain, in a 30-minute drive or a 45-minute transit commute? What is the level of EV ownership? Is it growing? Where is it growing? And then those signal interconnection projects that John was talking about for OBAG, what is the level of interconnection around the county? And all these RTOs will help us track this progress over time and help us shape our different goals and actions, particularly the actions that we're applying in each action plan. And speaking of actions, these are actions from previous action plans and countywide plans that are either complete today or underway, just to give you a flavor of what the actions might be in our current action plans. I'm not going to go through all these, about them, but Caldecott, Fourth Bore, Richmond Ferry, Innovate 680, plus our programs like 511 Contra Costa and paratransit, in addition to Gomentum Station. So just those are it could be a continuation of these, or we could be adding to these. And I'm going to hand it over to John to talk about schedule and next steps, but basically this gives you a snapshot with the yellow star of where we're at now in the process. So John?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Yeah, so this is, the star tells you where we're at right now. We're trying to wrap up the action plans in the next few months. And there's a lot of anticipation for the countywide transportation plan. That will be started actually in September with the retreat. The next slide, please. Again, this is just another way to display the schedule. The board retreat in September is where we're going to kind of kick off the process and get some feedback from board members. We're anticipating the process will take about a year to complete the CTP. And we'll be doing a lot of outreach and working with the stakeholders throughout the process. Next slide. So this is the last slide. This kind of want to queue up the board on the retreat and plan for September. We're planning a 2-day process, basically looking at the challenges and opportunities in day one, and look at day two, looking forward to the vision and the programs and the projects and planning. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. So coming back here, any questions or comments? No, just moving ahead. John, I was just really glad to see the pop-up events. I think that was wonderful. And particularly the folks who are riding bikes and so forth, just getting their feedback, going to those events. That was great. Tim, I see your hand raised, and then Amy.
I'll give the floor to Representative Worth first.
Okay.
Okay, because Tim probably able to answer my question. First of all, I want to thank John for that excellent presentation, and Matt, I know how hard you've worked on this, these policies, and know how far back this whole idea of transportation investments, solving transportation congestion problems is embedded in Contra Costa County. What I'm trying to understand is how this is going to integrate with the requirements that all of our cities have relative to housing, streamlining permit acts, where we, say a development comes in, we on a corridor where we have an action plan that provides for, quantitative service objectives. But we know that project will negatively affect it, number one, but two, because of the characteristics of that particular development project, there is no opportunity to fund mitigation. So I don't need an answer now, but I just wanted to see if what the thought was in terms of how this policy would align with the state, housing policies that cities by law have to adopt.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Worth. I don't have an answer for you now, but thank you for bringing up the question. And we'll definitely, I think housing is a big issue in this county, so we definitely incorporate that in the plan.
Great. And I know we've been pondering this for some time, so we'll figure out the answer. But unfortunately, it may, like AB 743, that sort of upended everything. We're because of our growth management elements, which we're unique in the state to have these. So thank you so much. And again, thanks for your hard work with all the local jurisdictions on this. And I know as Matt indicated, the goal is to really have a very forward thinking approach that reflects the priorities of our community. So thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Good point. Tim?
Thank you, Chair Kelly. And what I wanted to emphasize about this is, is that the countywide transportation plan is really mission critical for CCTA and CCTA staff. Some of you may recall that in 1995, CCTA did the first countywide transportation plan, and there was a lot of work that went into that to really pull that together. And there was a huge effort called Shape Our Future that really fed into that countywide transportation plan. And there was a lot of controversy. CCTA was trying to figure out what our role was at the time in the county, working with the local jurisdictions. And then since then, we updated the CTP in 2009 and 2014 and 2017. And if you look at all of those CTPs, they didn't really change much from the first CTP in 1995. Okay, and so this is what we're trying to do with this countywide transportation plan is we're trying to pivot off this CTP. We need change. We all recognize that transportation is changing. People want, as you can see from the list of things that the public is looking for, they're looking for better transit. They're looking for a better coordinated system. They're looking for new mobility options. They're looking for better accessible transportation. And so how do we as CCTA bring those things to the public, and where do we want to bring those things to the public? You know, like, for example, we may want to discuss really tough projects like, you know, reprioritizing our pavement on certain roadways. That could be an action out of an action plan. Like, for example, Ignacio Valley Boulevard, you know, do we want to run some sort of major high capacity transit service down Ignacio Valley Boulevard, because we know we're not going to widen that road anytime soon. So what are some of the big, bold ideas that we want to see in this county to move people efficiently, effectively, through like a system? And that is what we are going to talk about at this board retreat in September. We're going to sit together as a group. This is going to be an interactive session, and we need to hear from you about what you think the future of transportation could be and what it can be. And then we can talk about what CCTA's role could be in that future of transportation, especially with all of the uncertainty that we are facing in transportation. We don't know what transportation is going to look like in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or 25 years. And so it's really challenging to make sure that we build a transportation system that can address the needs, but also be flexible and nimble to be able to address some of the new mobility options. Like, for example, drones. I mean, we don't know what drones might look like in 5 to 10 years in terms of personalized mobility, freight mobility, and how do we adapt to that with our shared mobility hub network. So I think that those are the types of things that we're going to be talking about. Setting the framework for the future is really mission critical. We have to change, we have to pivot, and we have to prepare for the future. And so the purpose of really this item was to really start laying the groundwork for this board retreat, start planting the seeds for you all to start thinking about what are some of those big ideas and big projects you would like to see in your cities, in your subregions. So, and bring those ideas with you at the board retreat, because we're going to be talking about some really interesting ideas, and we're looking forward to it, excited about it. And I'm looking forward to doing it in person. This is going to be the first, that board retreat is going to be the first in-person meeting that we would have had since 2019 or 2020. So it's exciting. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting times. I'm looking forward to the discussion and what the outcomes are going to be. And really, maybe we're looking for signature projects, right, that can get the public excited about the future. So so start thinking about that for the board retreat in September.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. Any other comments from the board? And once again, Terry, and any written comments?
No written public
Or
comment.
does anybody from the public wish to speak on this item? No?
No,
Okay,
no,
thank you.
yes.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our discussion and action items, so we'll just move ahead. We don't have any correspondence. There are committee reports in the packet. So let's move on to authority board and staff comments. And I don't have anything to say as the chair, but just to say that I've been going in and meeting with Tim in person in the office, and it's been wonderful, absolutely refreshing. Tim is there almost every day, and I encourage you to do that, particularly if you want to look at something's technical up on the big screen. It's really so much different than looking at it on this little teeny computer. So that's been an absolute delight. And to say today I saw Colin coming into the office, and I've seen others. So that's been really wonderful. Anyway, to move on, any comments from our commissioners? Sue.
I just wanted to let everybody know, I mentioned this to Tim earlier, we just signed a pilot program for our electric scooters in Pleasant Hill. So we're expecting that to start toward the end of the summer, up to 150 electric scooters in Pleasant Hill. So that's going to be an exciting project.
Fabulous. That's great. Any other commissioner reports or comments here? No. Representatives? Amy?
I do. Thank you. I have one. Well, thank you so much all. I just wanted to let you know, as you know, we have, John talked about the, OBAG 3 process, and in Tim's description, he talked about the work that we all did decades ago in shaping our future, which really was foundational for our PDA program in the county. And it's been really helpful as we've gone to, receive funds for a lot of these, these really important investments. As you know, we're in the process right now of the historically MTC allocates federal discretionary highway and transportation dollars as well as transit. A lot of the transit money comes by formula, but in the case of the highway money, a lot of it comes is discretionary dollars. It flows through MTC. Historically, we had through resolution 34 used those funds to support development around transit extension. So you recall, for example, when we extended BART further into Contra Costa County and then eBART, the cities accommodated the new transit with increased density around those transit stations. The new iteration of this, as you know, because we've had discussions about it in the past, is to take all that discretionary money and put it into and allocate it with a policy framework. And that goes way beyond where we are today. And there's a lot of pressure by advocacy groups to include not only this federal money, but other discretionary money that the region have, such as once regional measure 3. That's not in this proposal, but the pressure is out there to consider all of these funds as being part of this policy. So that bottom line is those policies are essential that we get them right, because they are going to be the framework for all the discretionary money that flows through the Bay Area. And it's really important to our cities, and it's particularly going to impact BART. We've been working with staff. We were able to, originally the plan was to adopt the plan at our commission meeting, which is coming up next week, and recommend that the planning committee recommend take the approval to the commission. We've successfully advocated to have that deferred, put off for a couple of months, so we have more time to advocate for really a careful, thoughtful analysis of this policy as it would impact on the ground, on communities. There's been a significant change in that it really applies primarily to Contra Costa cities that are on the BART line. So they've changed it to basically fixed guideways to transit. So that's the new definitions for sort of transit rich. But looking at the graphs for the density requirements, they're really extensive. And the challenge that we also raised was cities are in the process of developing their housing elements. And this would completely, would severely impact that. And frankly, given the new RHNA numbers, cities are already going to significantly increase density oftentimes around transit areas or within their communities to accommodate that. So John, I really want to thank our staff, John and Tim. We've all been working really hard together to pull together, to continue to crystallize the points that we feel need to be changed. And your city staffs have been very helpful in terms of providing their analysis. A number of cities have sent in letters. I think it would be helpful as we get to sort of what we hope might be a final thing in September. But your city voices have been really important in terms of conveying to our staff and to the rest of the commission the impact that these policies would have. And when Tim talks about, looking forward to the kind of initiatives that we are undertaking in Contra Costa County and in our individual cities, these dollars are vital. So we really have to get this policy right. It's going to be an uphill battle. We're all going to need to, come together over the next few months, which we are, in terms of pulling together information and working with the other counties and cities that share our concern. It's really the cities that have the transit where you're talking about, really significant density changes, as well as the policies that may be challenging for some cities. So I just wanted to keep that on your radar screen. I think it was a good win to be able to not have to make a decision this last week and next week and put it off for another couple of months to be able to really give staff the opportunity to hear and understand the depth of the concern, and really the concern that many of these policies, and working with Lisa Vorderbruggen, who you all know, is that many of these policies would actually have the opposite effect of promoting housing. So we're continuing to work on it. So you will hear more, and hopefully your city's planning directors will continue to need to be engaged. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Tom?
I just wanted to share a little bit of bad news. You know, about a year ago, we instituted Bolt bike share, and they put electric bikes all over Richmond. And apparently, they've gone out of business. This is nationwide. You know, they've got thousands of electric bikes all over the United States, and they've just disappeared. They just went under. And, you know, the bikes are still there. They'll probably get stolen or vandalized. It's very unfortunate. I don't know if any other cities in the county have Bolt, but anyway, looks like we'll be looking for a new vendor.
Sad. Thanks, Tom. Maureen?
Just point of information, most of you probably know that Charles Anderson, long time executive director of the WestCat system, retired last month. He was I just have to say something because I've been on the board for a number of years. He's great travel, now travel advocate. He was transit advocate because he's going to be traveling, but he will be missed. But Rob Thompson is going to replace him. The board made that action last month. And so the transition is going to be very smooth. So one of our small operators is going through a transition time for transit, but all is good. Best wishes to Charlie.
Thank you. Thank you, Maureen. I share those good wishes for him too. Any other comments here? No? Well, Tim, your report?
Well, I don't have much to report because I think we talked about all of it already. I was going to talk about the TOC policy, but Representative Wirth covered that nicely. And I'm excited about the work that we've been doing together to help make a difference there and get MTC staff to defer that decision. And I know we're going to be working really closely together to make sure we have the right language in there. And I'm actually going to the PMA tomorrow night to talk about this with all of the city managers to make sure that, you know, this is top of mind for everyone, so we can make sure we get it right. And because this is a really big decision, it's going to impact a lot of cities. So we just want to make sure we need to get right. I mentioned about the board retreat. One thing I wanted to talk about on the board retreat is, again, it's September 15th, September 16th. It's a 2-day retreat. It'll be roughly about anywhere from 6 to 7 hours per day. We're going to try to keep it relatively reasonable and not like a full day. And also what we did is, it's going to be a fairly big group. We invited all of our transit operators to the board retreat. We also invited all of our city managers to the board retreat. This is really intended to be a very productive discussion about, you know, what transportation wants to look like in our local jurisdictions. I know that we tend to think about our highway system, and it's no longer the case. We have to think about our local roads and what we're going to do to our local roads to make them work better for all people in Contra Costa County. And I think, you know, lastly, I just wanted to reiterate and congratulate the board and the staff on the great work in bringing in the award-winning TIRCP grant. I know Bill Churchill's on the call, and we couldn't have done it without County Connection and LAFTA and all of the people that were involved with this great project. And I'm excited that we're able to move this project forward. I mean, it's kind of crazy. This is a study that was completed, just a short time ago. And now we're already going to be implementing it as part of this TIRSIP funding. And it's brand new express bus service. And so this is really exciting. I mean, if you look at this express bus service, this is how we can portray what the future of transit can be to the public and get people excited about transit. We can also compile that, or in conjunction with that, show them what new mobility options can look like with the shared autonomous vehicle at Rossmore and Bishop Ranch. And, if you think about it, we can brand all that together and really demonstrate to the public what new transit is going to look like in the future and get people excited about transit. I think, with BEEP and the work that we're going to be doing at Rossmore and Bishop Ranch, this is not just testing, folks. This is real operations. This is really putting butts in seats in these shared autonomous vehicles for 1 year at Rossmore and for 6 months at Bishop Ranch. So this is really operating as a real service, and I'm excited about it. And obviously there's risks associated with that, that we all need to accept, and, staff is preparing for that. But I'm excited for the future. I'm excited that we can show the public what transit can look like. And so I think this TIRSIP grant, not only did it have the 6 buses and the hydrogen fueling and the fueling depots, but, it had the share mobility hub in Bishop Ranch, where we can really showcase to the county what a share mobility hub can truly look like, and what the future of transit can look like. So if you have any cool names to brand this thing, whether it be Go Coco or something really cool, I'm all ears. Like Chair Kelly mentioned, I'm in the office almost every day, pretty much every day, except maybe for Fridays here and there, but I'm happy to meet in person and strategize and brainstorm with you. So thank you. And I congratulate the board and the staff for the great work on everything that we're doing and with this wonderful grant.
Great. Thank you, Tim. I share all those feelings too. Okay, so without further ado, you have the calendars in your packet, and we are going to adjourn the meeting until our next authority board meeting, which will be September 21st at 6 p.m. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.